Hull House, which was Chicago's first settlement, was established in September 1889. It represented no association, but was opened by two women, backed by many friends, in the belief that the mere foothold of a house, easily accessible, ample in space, hospitable and tolerant in spirit, situated in the midst of the large foreign colonies which so easily isolate themselves in American cities, would be in itself a serviceable thing to Chicago. Hull House endeavors to make social intercourse express the growing sense of the economic unity of society. It is an effort to add the social function to democracy. It was opening on the theory that the dependence of classes on each other is reciprocal, that the social relation is essentially a reciprocal relation. It gave a form of expression that has peculiar value. If you have heard 1,000 voices singing the Hallelujah chorus in Handel's Messiah, you have found that the leading voices could still be distinguished, but that the differences of training and cultivation between them and the voices in the chorus are lost in the unity of purpose and in the fact that they are all human voices, lifted by a high motive. This is a weak illustration of what a settlement attempts to do. It aims, in a measure, to develop whatever of social life its neighborhood may afford, to focus again form to that life, to bring to bear upon it the results of cultivation and training. But it receives in exchange for the music of isolated voices the volume and strength of the chorus. It is quite impossible for me to say in what proportion or degree the subjective necessity which led to the opening of Hull House combined the three trends. First, the desire to interpret democracy in social terms. Secondly, the impulse beating at the very source of our lives, urging us to aid in the race progress. And thirdly, the Christian movement toward humanitarianism. It is difficult to analyze a living thing. The analysis is at best imperfect. Many more motives may blend with the three trends. Possibly the desire for a new form of social success due to the nicety of imagination, which refuses worldly pleasures unmixed with the joys of self-sacrifice. Possibly a love of approbation so vast that it is not content with the treble clapping of delicate hands, but wishes also to hear the bass notes from toughened palms may mingle with these. Life is manifold, and Hull House attempts to respond to as many sides as possible. It does this fearlessly, feeling sure that among the able people of Chicago are those who will come to do the work when once the outline is indicated. It pursues much the same policy in regard to money. It seems to me an advantage, this obligation to appeal to businessmen for their judgment and their money, to the educated for their effort and enthusiasm, to the neighborhood for their response and cooperation. It tests the sanity of an idea, and we enter upon a new line of activity with a feeling of support and confidence. We have always been perfectly frank with our neighbors. I have never tried so earnestly to set forth the gist of the settlement movement, to make clear its reciprocity, as I have to them. At first, we were often asked why we came to live there when we could afford to live somewhere else. I remember one man who used to shake his head and say it was the strangest thing he had met in his experience, but who was finally convinced that it was not strange, but natural. I trust that now it seems natural to all of us that the settlement should be there. If it is natural to feed the hungry and care for the sick, it is certainly natural to give pleasure to the young and to minister to the deep-seated craving for social intercourse that all men feel. Whoever does it is rewarded by something which, if not gratitude, is at least spontaneous and vital and lacks that irksome sense of obligation with which a substantial benefit is too often acknowledged. The man who looks back to the person who first put him in the way of good literature has no allow in his gratitude. I remember when the statement seemed to me very radical that the salvation of East London was the destruction of West London. But I believe now that there will be no wretched quarters in our cities at all when the conscience of each man is so touched that he prefers to live with the poorest of his brethren, and not with the richest of them that his income will allow. It is to be hoped that this moving and living will at length be universal and need no name. The settlement movement is from its nature a provisional one. It is easy in writing a paper to make all philosophy point one particular moral and all history adorn one particular tale. But I hope you forgive me for reminding you that the best speculative philosophy sets forth the solidarity of the human race. That the highest moralists have taught that without the advance and improvement of the whole, no man can hope for any lasting improvement in his own moral or material individual condition. The subjective necessity for social settlements is identical with that necessity, which urges us on toward social and individual salvation.